You are watching On Demand. Please do not try to vote or enter any competition or other interactivity in this programme, as it may not count and you may still be charged.
Hello and welcome to your Wednesday Loose Women, and giving you their midweek take on the topics of the day alongside me, Christine Lampard. It's Brenda Edwards, Janet Street Porter and Jane Moore. Now, coming up, after a court injunction has been granted against environmental activists targeting the M25, is it right to lock up eco-protesters? And at 1 o'clock, she's a model, presenter, Strictly champion, mother of 4 and wife to the tallest man in football. Abby Clancy will be here for her first ever appearance on Loose Women. And as more and more people choose to give their pets a professional funeral, is it okay to pay upwards of £500 to send your furry friend to the afterlife? Now, the government has won a court injunction against protesters targeting the M25. Climate change activists could face imprisonment as a result of the High Court decision. And Transport Secretary Grant Shapps said the activists will face contempt of court with possible imprisonment if they flout. So are the government right to get tough on climate protesters, Janet? I mean, a right to protest, it's a bit of a cornerstone of our society, indeed our democracy. Where do we stand? Is there a middle ground here when there's so much disruption being caused?
Well, I don't agree with what they're doing. I do think they've got a point about their message, which is they want the government to insulate for nothing everybody living in social housing in this country, because they argue if people had better insulation and their homes would be more energy efficient, we would be protecting the environment and saving the poorest people in society a lot of money. So that's their message, but it's got lost in all the chaos. Now, can any law stop what might be as few as 5 people running on at a time, running onto a motorway? They will always be able to totally disrupt the traffic. So I think the way they're going about getting their message across is appalling, but I also think that the heavy hand of an injunction won't necessarily stop it, because if we look back to Extinction Rebellion's campaigns, which disrupted the whole of central London for weeks at a time last year and the year before, when they occupied Oxford Circus, they closed the London bridges. I mean, these people are not that easy to stop.
Well, I don't find it odd that the law doesn't actually cover that already.
Yes, I do.
Considering we have had a lot of protests over the last few years, you think that they might have sorted this out by now through legislation and not have to use emergency powers. And actually, it's the national highways, and it's an injunction, as you say, but it's only for the M25. So what are they going to do? They're probably going to go and sit on another motorway.
Well, they've already disrupted the M23, M3 and the A1.
But they keep coming back. It's the same faces. But what I think they are endangering life, and I think that is a criminal offence. And also, if I go and spray blue paint on somebody's car, that's criminal damage. They're spraying blue paint on the motorway. What's the difference? I don't really understand why these powers are not there to have treated them more seriously before now. And, that footage we saw yesterday of them running onto the motorway, one of them said, well, I might be putting my own life at risk, but I don't really accept we've put other lives at risk. Rubbish. Because, if one of those great big juggernauts, you're instinctively taught in your driving test to do emergency stop. If one of those great big juggernauts had done an emergency stop, the car behind isn't expecting it because they can't see, and they go into the back and somebody dies, that could very, very easily happen. And it is endangering life.
I'm totally with you on that health and safety aspect of things. And, having lost somebody in a car accident, that's such a trigger for so many people. You're taking, you might say you're taking your own life into your own hands. But what about the people that are witnessing that or who've already been through that traumatic experience? It's just so, I think that they need to become more inconvenient at another door or stick themselves to the door of number 10 of the people that can actually do something about it and do something about making the change rather than disrupting
Yeah, it's
everybody
like,
else's
it's a great
life.
message, but the implementation is just, as Janet said, you're losing people.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because you've got to ask yourself, are you driving around the M25 at 8 a.m. in the morning for any other reason? Because you have to. It's not a sport. It's not, you know, a designer choice. These are ordinary working people who have to, you know, take the kids to school
Nurses.
or clock on their nurses and essential workers. And the other thing is, Boris is, you know, very keen to get all his green credentials in order because Britain is going to host the COP26 Environment Conference in Glasgow in November, when the eyes of the world will be on us, and we want to show everybody how green we are. We're going to be the greenest country in the world. There's not a person in Britain that doesn't understand how important it is to save the planet. But at the same time, we have something called fuel poverty, which is that the poorest people in society end up paying the most proportionately for energy and to heat their houses. So when Boris talks about levelling up, that's the kind of levelling up I want to see, to help people have cleaner energy and cheaper energy, but focus on the people who need it the most.
But this is the way to do it, isn't it?
Yes.
To have discussion and debate, not glue yourself to a motorway.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, activism is obviously about getting the, you know, the public on side, isn't it? You need the support of the ordinary person at home, and
You're
actually
not going to get that, make that happen.
Reading any article
yeah.
today, listening to anything on the radio on the way in here today, I wasn't getting any element of that. It's like you say, though, Janet, there won't be a person that will disagree with the greater cause, but you have to implement it in the right way.
But
or
how
you're losing
can
it.
you close down the motorways, Christine? You can't. I mean, the police have got enough on their hands without trying to look at a great big map of the M25 or sending up drones trying to target where small groups of people can move very quickly. So, you know, I think that, yeah, they can have an injunction, but whether it will work be another matter.
Well, I mean, I find it astonishing. So, you know, it says here it's not possible to remand people in custody for obstructing the highway.
If you're
I find
endangering
astonishing.
someone's life, then I think there should be consequences for that.
So should there be like a straight to prison type policy if you're absolutely...
There should just be consequences. You get arrested for smaller things, just standing in a park, and you're running onto a motorway. It's called jaywalking or something, isn't it? It's illegal in America. Why can't they do that here?
Yeah, no, lots of you getting in touch. I mean, like, as we say, it's all over the papers and on the radio this morning as well. But Samantha's saying the results from these protests have caused chaos. Emergency services couldn't attend emergencies, and the traffic chaos caused is increasing the pollution levels in itself. I mean, there was a story yesterday, wasn't there, about the elderly lady who was on her way to the hospital with her son,
blood
had a stroke.
and had a stroke and couldn't get to the hospital in
6
time.
hours they were sat there.
6 hours they were sitting in the traffic, and of course now her diagnosis isn't great because of it. I mean, we asked you at home, do you agree with tougher laws for eco-protesters? 91% of you said yes. It's back to the sympathy thing. You don't have the support and the sympathy of those at home. It's very difficult to get the back in to carry anything through, isn't it? But like you say, it takes a handful, Janet, and that's it. But anyway, we'll see what's going to happen now in terms of the change of the law. Now, another story making the news is about Janet. It was headline news here, certainly on Loose Women yesterday. She lost her passport. Now, I know there's serious things in the world, and this is one of them. And we did call upon you yesterday. We tried to ask our beloved viewers at home to help us out. You did, of course, you didn't let us down. You got in touch and you let us know what you thought. Tracy says, try your suitcase.
Yeah.
Oh, this is interesting. We've had some psychics get in touch. One has said it's in the pocket of a garment in your hanging space. And another one says she can see it in your cutlery tray. A psychic has been in touch to say it's in your photocopier, just so you know.
Oh.
Well...
Well, I still haven't found what I'm looking for. Oh, no! Oh, cue obvious music.
What, I mean...
What's left? Prayer.
Saying a prayer for your Janet.
Prayer.
Have
I
you
haven't
literally turned
resorted-
your house upside down?
I know more about my knickers than I ever knew before. I've been through every book. I've been through every letter I've had from, you know, everybody going back 10 years. I've opened handbags And so far, all I've found is a pair of waterproof trousers and a midge spray.
Great.
Yeah.
Do you think it is actually in your house?
I don't know.
You see, this is where I was scared to go yesterday, James.
Right.
I thought that means it is game over. If it's not in the house, it's game over.
Bringing all this negativity onto the panel. We need to be positive.
Right.
Janet, get the positivity out into the universe and pray to the Lord. Start praying, lovey, for your passport.
Which Lord? Well, who am I praying to?
The one and
Anthony.
only.
All right, someone up there. Whoever's there. Right, I did go to church a lot as a child. I still go
St.
sometimes.
Anthony, to be specific.
I'll say
Yeah.
a prayer for Janet's passport to take her there. Come on, and end her misery.
There's nothing worse, though. I mean, you have desperately wanted to get away, and suddenly the passport is the
booked my
crucial.
holiday.
Yeah.
I paid for my holiday. I booked it. I'm meant to go
It
on
will
October
come.
the 6th.
It will come to you.
My passport, well, I've had to try and get an appointment at the passport office, and I know what everybody watching who's done the same thing has been through at 11 o'clock at night. You're looking for an appointment anywhere in the UK.
Janet, it's all right. It's all right. Just breathe, recenter yourself, and be the calm, loving, and...
Have you met Janet?
I know who Janet is. Janet, come on,
I'll
Janet.
go back to prayer.
I
Yeah.
know,
All
yeah,
right,
St.
I'll
Anthony's
class
the
in
one.
the breaks.
Just apply for a new one.
I feel like a foreman, but will it come? Passport person, if you get my application, think of me kindly, whatever I've said in the past.
There you go. Are we done with our passport conversation?
Yeah, I think
it's going
so.
to
Knock it on the head
It'll
now.
happen.
I
Right.
think we should do the whole show on it.
Still to come. As non-dairy milks rocket in popularity, Janet will be trying some of the alternatives. Camel, horse and pea milk are all on the menu. That's at 1 o'clock. And in a few minutes, ahead of the Prince Philip documentary tonight, where his grandchildren pay tribute to him, we're talking about the important role our grandparents played in our lives. That's all coming up after the break. Hello again, welcome back to Loose Women. Still to come, pet funerals are on the rise. So would we send our furry friends off in style? Find out at 1:15. And at 1 o'clock, she's making her debut appearance on Loose Women. Abby Clancy will be here to talk 10 years of marriage to Peter Crouch and how they celebrated their anniversary with a bucket of fried chicken. Romance. Competition time now, though, and it's our biggest prize ever. But would you take one massive payout of £1 million or spend it over 10 years? Our Linda Robson has been asking the great British public what they'd do.
Stand by. It's the biggest competition on our screens ever. Would you have a decade of decadence or £1 million now?
Oh, I'd take the million now, being a senior citizen. I'd give my family some money to pay off mortgages, grandkids to go to uni. Yeah, I'd give some to cancer research, charity close to my heart, and I'd buy a little cottage by the sea.
I would take the 1 million now because I'm so organised and efficient that I would just be able to budget it really well, and I'd just pay off this place, buy my own home, take a nice holiday, do all the normal cliche things that everyone says they're going to do, you know.
For another chance to make that £1 million decision, text cash to 82248. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Go to the website. Entries cost £2. Call 09068 782248. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and phone number to CD 37 PO Box 7558 Derby DE 10NQ. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close on Friday the 22nd of October at 4 p.m. Good luck.
Now, in a new documentary airing tonight, the royal family pay a touching tribute to the late Prince Philip, who died in April this year. In the programme, Prince Philip's grandchildren, including Princes William and Harry, remember him not just as a public figure, but also share special memories of him as a grandfather.
He enjoyed those jokes, he enjoyed messing around with the children and kind of being a grandfather.
What I remember now is the expressions on his face to the things that happened, the things that went wrong, and the craziness that was happening around him, he would just sit there so completely calmly with his legs crossed.
He made time for all of us, supported all of us, and he kept control of most of us.
It's a lovely kind of private moment almost listening in on that, isn't it? And I know it was your grandmother who had a particularly huge influence on you, Brenda.
Yeah, my grandmother was everything to me. She was a strong lady. She was a formidable woman. There's my grandmother there and my granddad. Unfortunately, you know, my grandmother, she died 2 days after my 20th birthday, on the 4th of March. And, you know, it was like a few days before Mothering Sunday as well. And I think I felt like I was going through the loss of my mum all over again. And I think, you know, when she died, the weird thing about it is she used to have this beauty spot. She used to have a black beauty spot on her face. And when she died, the day after she died, this black spot came up on my face in exactly the same place. So I'm a strong believer in somebody's looking over me and watching me. And I think that's her, you know, the other side of it. A few days after that, I was so stressed out and distraught from her death. My hair started falling out. So, you know, that's the impact that she had on me. But I'm really glad. She was such a highly respected woman. And, you know, I remember on church on Sunday, she'd make coconut drops and peanut cake and take it, and we'd sell it after church and everything. And we spent... It was all the time since my parents died up until 18, 19. We were literally every day together.
And her picture still hangs.
Her
so
picture
she's still...
She is the cornerstone of our house, and her picture is in the house, and everybody comes in. And we always still talk so fondly of Granny. She's everything to me, everything.
But it's so special to have that relationship, isn't it, Janet? Even just with one of the grandparents. It's that link to your own history.
Yeah, because I had a Welsh granny, my mother's mother. My Welsh grandfather had died a long time before. My Welsh granny was a mystery to me in lots of ways. She didn't speak much English. She was very, very, very strict. And my sister and I were taken to her house, her little cottage in North Wales at the start of every summer holiday. My parents would bring me there and then they'd go back to London to work. And she'd make a birch rod and put it over the back door and then point at that. And that meant no messing about, otherwise that will be on your backside. So she kind of ruled the house with a birch rod of iron. So that was one experience, but through her I discovered the countryside and really my love of North Wales and walking in the mountains, although every single walk had to be collecting something. We couldn't just go for a walk, you had to pick up firewood and blackberries. And also I think the Welsh love telling stories, and she would tell me all the fairy stories and mythology about all the legends about all the stones around the village, and every little corner had a special story. But my real close grandparent was my father's father. Now, my father was a misery, as I've said many times on the show, a bit like my mum, not a very emotional bloke, very buttoned up and, you know, very, I think, suffering the effects of being involved in the war. But his dad was a train driver on the Piccadilly line. And my granddad was fabulous. He was a larger-than-life character, a really jolly bloke, and he loved growing fruit and vegetables, and that's definitely passed on to me.
You see, just how your face lit up the second
Oh,
you
no,
just
I
started
love
to
my
describe
granddad.
him.
And I'm there, you know, there are pictures of me and my granddad in his back garden. Of course, his wife, my granny, was another misery. I mean, misery runs through our family. But he was an absolute gem.
He was the shining light amongst
Yeah, and
it
he
all.
always had time to talk to you. And I used to wonder when I got on the train, would I ever see him driving? Would he be him on the Piccadilly line?
That's so lovely. I love that, Janet. And it just makes you really appreciate when you do have a good relationship with a grandparent. It does mean so much, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't really have that because obviously I don't have a dad or didn't have a dad, or didn't have a relationship with my dad. So that side I didn't have any grandparents. And then my grandmother was quite poorly and died when I was quite young. And my grandfather, they were very unusual because they were divorced, which was unheard of in those days. And he went out to Australia as a $10 tourist in the 1950s. And he lived this quite sort of nomadic lifestyle. So I would go to Australia, like 2 or 3 times over a period of about 10 years. And I'd have this sort of very concentrated sort of 6 weeks with him, travelling around. And he was a piano tuner.
Great.
And he had the contract for the Australian government. And he had a little plane. And in those days, they had all the Aboriginal missions on the little islands off the Northern Territories. And he used to fly his little plane over there, tune the piano at the mission. And I'd be there with him and be playing with all the kids. And I had the most amazing experience. So it wasn't like a conventional grandparent, but but that sort of thing of, you know, staying at their house and all that sort of, I've never had that. And so it's really important to me, you know, my mum has that with my kids, because I think the grandparent role is really, really important.
Which is why your mum still has a very close link with your children.
And you know, you're very close.
I know, I was
with
very
all
lucky.
Yeah.
Sadly, I lost my grandparents when I was quite young. They're all gone by the age of 10, 11. And I just only wish that I had them when I was that bit older. I would love to have been able to drive, because they all lived about a 2-hour drive away, which was like the other side of the world back then. And I just wish I had had my license and had a bit of my own money where I could have spoiled them. I really wish I could have done that, because it means they were wonderful grandparents and very loving to us. And there was one day, it was just, again, like you talk about the little mark on your cheek. And I was like, look, it was in a market, and it was all these black and white photographs. And I found this photograph of an old street in Enniskillen back home. And it turns out that in the bottom left-hand corner, that's my grandfather's butcher shop. And it's Blakely and Sonia. It's very difficult to make out there on camera, but that actually was my grandfather's butcher shop all those years ago. And again, a random market that I wasn't even meant to go to. And those little things,
That's a sign,
that was
girl.
just meant to be, wasn't it? So yeah, it's lovely, and you're very lucky if you have that link with grandparents. But still to come, Abby Clancy will be here for the first time ever on Loose Women to talk 10 years of marriage to Peter Crouch, how having a 4th child changed their relationship, and what she thinks of this year's Strictly contestants. And
my milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than
her milkshake always brings the boys to the yard. After the break, Janet will be trying camel, horse and pea milk. Don't go anywhere.
it's better than yours. I could teach you, but I have to charge. You want it.
Tomorrow, Gavin and Stacey Starr and friend of the show, Larry Lamb, joins Loose Women to explain how getting together for a coffee morning can help beat cancer, and why he's got a special connection to the cause. Larry Lamb tomorrow at 12:30 on Loose Women. Welcome back to your Wednesday Loose Women. Alongside me, Christine Lombard, it's Brenda Edwards, Jane Moore and Janet Street Porter. Coming up, Abby Clancy will be with us in just a minute. There she is, looking gorgeous. First though, milk used to be something that came from a cow and you put it in your tea. But in 2021, over 1/3 of British households have gone dairy-free. Milk is now made out of everything imaginable, from peas to potatoes, with camel and horse milk also becoming increasingly popular. So who better to sort the dairy from the disgusting than our resident taste tester, Janet? Yeah, I know. Pea, camel and horse we've got here.
Oh, get over it.
Yeah. Would you give any of them a go, though?
I already drank camel milk a few years ago when I was doing a series with Gordon Ramsay, and I went to a farm in Germany where they were breeding camels for milk, because these milks, like camel milk, have got loads of nutrition in them. Have you got a card?
It says camel, it's lower in saturated fat than full-fat cow's milk. It claims to contain more vitamin C, B vitamins, calcium, iron and potassium.
Right.
And it's much easier to digest. So camel, all round.
I'm giving it a go now. I mean, when I tasted it before, it just come out of the camel and it was hot and rather disgusting.
OK, well, this might be slightly more palatable.
Fine, it's a little bit salty.
Bit salty.
But it tastes like regular milk.
OK, right. Jane, what do you think?
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yep. I'd drink that.
Brenda, you're not going anywhere near it?
It looks nice in the holder.
All right.
Well, what
Brenda,
about...
all talk, no action.
Brenda, what about the pea milk? Would you give it a go? So it's made from yellow split peas.
Which one is pea?
This is the one on the right.
The
Yeah, that
darker one.
Yeah.
It's rich in iodine, vitamin D,
Okay.
B12 and calcium.
Pea.
So all round, it's
Oh, yeah.
good for you.
I can taste the pea.
God, that's really pea.
Is it?
Yeah.
I prefer the camel milk.
It's just
It's enough. Well, what about mare milk, right? Female horse, obviously. High in vitamin C and iron, but low in fat and levels of lactose that are closer to human breast milk than a cow. And it contains around half of the calories as cow's milk and contributes to a low cholesterol diet.
Well, it tastes nice. It's slightly sugary, funnily enough. It's slightly sweet.
Got a little weird aftertaste.
A weird aftertaste.
Oh, I was almost going in until you said aftertaste. That did it for me.
No. Brenda, I cannot believe that. Look, I don't want to do down regular cow's milk because, you know, for a lot of people it works really well, it's cheap and it gives them good nutrition. I mean, I don't drink milk in tea, but I have yoghurt and yoghurt's made with regular milk. But if I needed a supplement in my diet or I was lactose intolerant, one of these would surely, a plant-based one would work.
Absolutely work. Oh, she's being brave. She's in. Never mind the aftertaste. Well, not a fan.
No.
It'll grow on you. Don't worry. I'll give you a bit of time.
Eating challenge.
You know why? You know why I like camel milk? I regularly get the hump.
It was only a matter of time.
Resist that one.
We were all thinking it, we didn't go there. But Janet, thanks for that.
Well, I was going to say she was more of a nightmare.
Oh, right. Move on.
Yeah, let's stop when it comes to the P one. Now, today's guest, she's a very successful model, a Strictly Come Dancing champion and a mother to 4 beautiful children and the wife of the tallest man in football. She's also making her debut appearance on Loose Women today. Abby Clancy, hello, how are you doing? There you are. Abby,
thanks so much for having me.
How can this be your first time on Loose Women?
I think I've been too busy having kids for the past 10 years. 3 and 4 years, my God.
Well, do you know what,
Anyway.
Abby, how has that been? I mean, we've all been talking about navigating our way through the past sort of 18 months, and if you've got 4 children at home, homeschooling, just basically trying to occupy them, what was the Clancy household like?
I loved it, to be honest. You know, that time, because I feel like as humans now, we're just running around like mad, doing a million things at once. So that time to stop and reset and spend quality time with each other. We were playing games. I had the homeschooling down. I was like, my kids were calling me Miss Trunchbull and Pete was Miss Honey because he was like, you don't have to do science, kids. Let's go and play in the garden. So I loved it. We were making cakes. We were doing Joe Wicks, all the stereotypical cliches of lockdown. We were doing them.
And it was your 10th wedding anniversary recently as well with Pete. I mean, we did mention a bucket of fried chicken earlier on. I can't imagine the two of you going out and celebrating a 10th wedding anniversary with a bucket of fried chicken.
Well, Pete actually booked an amazing hotel in London. We were looking forward to it for weeks because obviously he'd been with the kids for months. And he booked a chef. We had our private terrace. He'd gone all out. And on the way there, we saw a KFC poster and Pete was like, oh my God, I really fancy a KFC. So we cancelled the chef, had KFC on the balcony and watched the tennis and was asleep by 10 p.m. So really, really boring, but we loved it. No, just getting that full night's sleep and no kids in the bed. It was great.
Oh, yeah, well, I was going to say, talking of no kids in the bed, because you've got quite a crowded bedroom, haven't you and Pete?
Yeah, I think that's one thing we struggle with. You know, it works for us, but it wouldn't work for most people. We've got Johnny. I had 2 cots in the bedroom for Johnny and Jack. Now Jack's in his own room, but Liberty sleeps in with us and Johnny. And we've had to put a single mattress on the floor next to the bed. So, like, in the middle of the night, Pete sleeps on that, but his head's on the floor and his feet are on the floor. And the mattress just takes his body throughout the middle. But I kind of like it in a weird way because Sophia's 10 now. She doesn't even come into us anymore.
Yeah, there comes a point, doesn't it, where they don't want to have anything to do with you. So it's quite nice to make the most of it when they want to be near you.
Yeah, well, maybe you want to get... Abby, maybe you need to get a pet that comes in the bedroom and makes a smell, farts at night, because the one thing that clears out my bedroom is Badger, the annoying dog. Badger.
Our pet, we're not allowed our pets upstairs.
You don't allow the pet? Well, he might clear out the bedroom, no. But seriously, sorry about that rather distasteful aside. I want to ask you about Strictly, because Judy's on it and we're rooting for her. What tips have you got for her?
I just say enjoy every minute of it. I loved it. It was something that I originally didn't want to do. Yeah. And then day one, I had the Strictly bug. Like, Christine, you know what it's like. It was just incredible. Like, the whole experience, learning this, because for me, like, I'm not a person to go on the treadmill and run. I want to be learning a skill with like exercise and stuff like that. So it was just incredible to be listening to music and dancing, and everyone was just in such a good mood constantly, and it was a really great time. So I'd just say be yourself, enjoy it, don't take it too seriously, and yeah, that's it really.
Abby, I loved watching you on Britain's Next Top Model, and I wanted to know, are any of your little ones following in those footsteps, do you think? And would you be happy for that?
Yeah, I think this is a question I often get asked, and, you know, there's so many horror stories when you talk about the modelling industry, but for me, I haven't experienced any of those, and I've only had a great experience. I know Sophia's she did the Lipsy with me, and my two little ones, Liberty and Johnny, are now doing the F&F campaign. And I love it because, you know, for the kids, it's so exciting. They want to know what mummy and daddy are doing in work. And for them to be a part of it and to get these pictures that you'll have forever is quite a blessing to me, really. And is that it now? I know you say that you won't have any more, but I do remember you saying you weren't going to have a fourth. Well, we've got 3 kids in the bed now, so there's no chance of baby number 5. And if we have another hotel stay where we're asleep by 10 o'clock, well, I think we can guarantee there'll be no more babies.
Abby, you're talking with some of the kids obviously following in your footsteps. Are there any showing any kind of footballing talent?
No. Well, Jack, my youngest, he's constantly got football at his feet. He loves it. Sophia's really, really sporty. She's amazing at swimming. So hopefully, you know, I don't know, like, Johnny wants to be a rainbow mermaid that strokes dolphins when he's older. So why not? God knows where that comes from. But, you know, it's funny how you can have 4 children, same parents, and they're all completely different personalities. We've done nothing different to the upbringing of any of them, and they're all totally different, amazing characters. And, you know, it's just amazing watching them grow up and develop into these, you know, little humans.
And I love the fact you always just hated football anyway, though. It just meant nothing to you, Abby. You were one of those girls that genuinely just put your hand and went, I hate it.
Because for me, as a child, like, my brother was a footballer. So my whole childhood was spent getting dragged to football pitches and being cold and wet and bored. So that's just my perception of football. So I think I'm the only person on earth who doesn't speak to Pete about football, and he kind of likes it. And I phone him at like 5 to 3. Where are you? Why aren't you answering your phone? He's like, I'm about to go on the pit. But yeah, it's just never interested me, really. I don't know why. I don't know why.
Oh, no, I get it. Abby, thank you so much. It's great to see you. And I can't believe, like I said, it's your first time. There you go. You've done it. This is it. You've opened the door.
Fab, thanks for having me.
Thanks so much, Abby. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Still to come, professional pet funerals. They're on the rise, but is it okay to pay £500 to bury your pooch? Or are people just being exploited? And after a restaurant in Oldham cooked up a sexism row by offering men and women different afternoon teas, is this actually a problem? Or do men and women just like different foods? All that after the break. Back in a moment, we're talking pet funerals. and whether men and women prefer different foods. There's an eclectic mix of conversation.
Yeah.
First, though, it's competition time. And how does a massive £1 million in your bank account sound? Well, it comes with a big decision. Our nanny Linda has all you need to know.
We provide, you decide. If you win our £1 million decision, you get to choose. Take all the dosh now or have $10,000 a month for 10 years. We've been up and down the country finding out what you would do.
If I won this competition, I would take £10,000 a month for 10 years and I would travel the world skiing and climbing, and I might take my husband.
All things considered, take the $1 million now. A lot of it I'd give to cancer research and probably update my car, you know, the rest of it, the family.
Just imagine where that sort of cash could take you. It's a life-changing amount of money and it could be yours. For another chance to make that £1 million decision, text cash to 82248. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Go to the website. Entries cost £2. Call 09068 782248. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and phone number to CD 37 PO Box 7558 Derby DE10NQ. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close on Friday the 22nd of October at 4 p.m. Good luck.
Thank you, Linda. Now, for a lot of people, their pets are like family, and many are treating them as such when they pass away. Funerals for animals are on the rise, with parlours carrying out up to 10,000 services a year and owners spending anything up to £500 on them. Now, these services can include music and tombstones, custom-made coffins and even religious blessings. So would you arrange a funeral for your furry friend? I mean, you absolutely love your cats. They are very much part of the family, Brenda.
Yes, they are.
How would you feel about that?
Well, I contemplated going with a burial for my baby Pebbles when she died. And then I watched Pet Sematary and I went with a cremation instead, because I'm like, I'm not having anything coming back to haunt me in any way, shape or form. But I can understand why somebody would want to do that. If this is your life and your soul and you're single and, you know, this is your child for a lot of people, then you want to give it that respect that you think, you believe it deserves, and you want to have some sort of closure. I had Pebbles cremated in the end, and then I buried her ashes below a rose bush that was also a symbolism of my mum and dad. So, you know, she's there, but unfortunately, we left that house and I think she's been dug up, but, you know, it's a nice thought.
Was there a funeral service?
I did say a prayer. I said a prayer and I got Tanisha with me and, you know, I said a few words.
Did you wear black?
No, I didn't. I wore a bright, colourful colour. Yeah, I don't believe in wearing black to funerals because it's about a celebration of the kitty cat.
Right, OK.
What about you, Janet?
Well, I lost my first pet. Terry the Terrapin was stolen from my garden in Fulham. Nicky, the Welsh-speaking budgie...
Oh, dear.
Flew off?
Don't know, my dad might have flushed him down the toilet. He hated him so much.
I'm sure he didn't.
No, anyone watching, don't do that with your pet, please. But Nicky disappeared after a row between my parents one day. I've not buried any pets. I can't remember, because I gave my cats away to my mother when I got fed up with them.
So no pet has actually died on your watch currently?
Or left her.
No, if you're asking me if anything, well, when Badger reaches the end of his days of eating, moaning, farting, and look, Badger, of course we'll have a ceremony for him. Yeah, we'll treat. Well, I agree with Brenda. I mean, he's worked his way into my heart. Yeah, and we'll probably bury him in the garden.
But would you go to a coffin? Would you do the whole coffin thing?
No.
Back in the day, it was very normal to just bury your pet in the garden.
Absolutely.
And,
absolutely.
I mean, I didn't know that all of this was a thing until when I was writing Sharon Osbourne's book. I moved in with her in LA for a couple of weeks. And on her mantelpiece, she's got these little urns with her various dogs in. And there's a huge pet crematorium in LA, and it's completely normal there that everybody take their animal there. They have a service, they have a coffin, you know, or an urn. And I was completely like, oh, wow, you know, we don't have that really in the UK, but I think we do now, don't we?
Yeah,
We've
but
got quite a few.
starting to,
Yeah, that
Jane,
was a long time
do
ago.
they have hymns for dead dogs?
I don't know if they. I don't know if they did any
you have
singing.
a hymn for your
Yeah,
cat?
nothing.
I didn't.
But you can organise that as part of these services.
It's not
where they
cheap
do
either.
play music, exactly, £500 plus.
Yeah.
So yeah,
All right.
it is something, but you understand it. Is what my
I do understand it. I do understand it. It's not for me to have the whole cake. Yeah, but yeah.
I'm struggling.
Now, a cafe in Oldham has come under fire after offering separate afternoon tea menus for men and women. The men's on the left includes steak, fish and chips and pork pies, whilst the female version on the right includes a mini prawn cocktail, individual quiches and cucumber sandwiches. So do you think the cafe is onto it? Maybe, is it just very basic? Men like different foods to us?
I like a steak and chips. I like whatever that man's having. If he's having a beef Wellington, give it to me. If he's having a sausage, you better give me that sausage with all the gravy. And you better make sure my portion looks exactly like his portion. Don't be scrimping.
So would you be quite offended if you sat down and you were given
that back. Why are you sending me
separate menu?
Cucumber sandwich? Look, I wasn't raised with this whole afternoon tea thing. It's breakfast, lunch and dinner. So I don't know about cucumber sandwiches in the first place. Finger food, what is that? Look, you need to just give me the proper size portion,
It's
you
a
hear?
good PR stunt, isn't it?
Of course it is.
But it is. I mean, if looking at that photo, I would have the one on the right, and Gary would 100% have the one on the left. He would have it with. He'd have a Scotch egg, a pork pie, a sausage roll, any other beige carbohydrate you could name,
with chili flakes,
because that's what he likes to eat. So I do think, you know, it's a sweeping generalisation, but I do think men largely have different eating habits to women.
And this woman.
Can I point out that menu's not very gender fluid, is it? So do they have another menu in mind for the people who are... No, not vegan.
Yeah.
It's kind of gender fluid.
Absolutely,
And
yes.
I wonder which way that would take
It
you.
opens up all sorts of discussions, this, I
Yes.
have to admit. I know. See, I'm very lucky. Frank and I will go in and we will order exactly the same thing, to the point where we have to change things so we don't sound like idiots. Honestly, we'll go same starter, and then we have to mix it up to make ourselves sound a bit more excited than what we really are.
I'm with you.
But yes, I'm with you. Yeah, I do understand it. But at the same time, it's quite nice, that afternoon tea thing, when it's done properly. I think it's quite a nice thing to
I think most, I mean, a lot of my friends, they say about their husbands, they go to some exotic restaurant, they always have steak and chips.
Yeah. I was married to
Keep
a
it
bloke
real.
who for 5 years never had anything out other than steak and chips.
Steak and chips. You can't beat it. Thank you very much, ladies. That is it for today. Tomorrow, two of our favourite loose men will be here. EastEnders legend Larry Lamb and the very lovely Eamon Holmes. Have a great afternoon. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.